My mother called my wedding shameful because I married before her golden child got engaged. She skipped the ceremony entirely. Now, 3 years later, she's standing at my door with suitcases, begging for a place to live. If you've ever been the family scapegoat, stay till the end. And if this resonates, hit subscribe. You're going to want to see how this unfolds. My name is Elena. I'm 32 years old, a marketing director at a tech company here in Seattle, and I've been married for 3 years to a man named David. But before I tell you about the phone call that changed everything, before I explain why my mother showed up at my door after years of silence, I need to take you back to when I first learned that in my family I would always be second choice, or really no choice at all. I was 8 years old the first time I truly understood what it meant to be invisible. It was a Tuesday afternoon in late September. One of those perfect fall days when the leaves were just starting to turn and the air had that crisp edge that made you feel alive. I'd stayed after school for art club, something I'd begged my mum to let me join because I loved drawing more than anything. She'd agreed, but with that distracted tone she always used with me, the one that said she was already thinking about something else. When art club ended at 4:30, I gathered my drawings, a watercolour of our golden retriever, Bailey, and walked to the front of the school where parents lined up in their cars. I scanned the parking lot, looking for our silver Honda. It wasn't there. I waited. 5 minutes. 10, 15. The other kids climbed into their parents' cars, waving goodbye to their friends. The art teacher, Mrs. Patterson, asked if I was okay. I nodded, clutching my painting, telling her my mum was probably just running late. 30 minutes passed. Then an hour. Mrs. Patterson tried calling my house. No answer. She tried my mum's cell phone. It rang and rang before going to voicemail. By the time 45 minutes had turned into 2 hours, I was sitting on the concrete steps, my watercolour ruined by tears I couldn't hold back anymore. Mrs. Patterson sat beside me, her hand on my shoulder, telling me it would be okay. When my mother's Honda finally pulled up at 6:15, she didn't even get out of the car. She just rolled down the window and waved at me impatiently, like I was the one making her wait. I climbed into the back seat, never the front that was always reserved for my older sister Natalie, and buckled my seatbelt with shaking hands. "Why do you always need so much attention?" my mother said, not even looking at me in the rearview mirror. "I was busy helping your sister prepare for her birthday party. Do you know how much work goes into planning something like that?" I stared out the window, my ruined painting crumpled in my lap. Natalie's 12th birthday party was going to be the event of the season. A catered affair at the country club with a DJ and a professional photographer. My 10th birthday, 2 months earlier, had been cake from the grocery store, eaten at our kitchen table with just our family. When I'd asked why Natalie got a big party and I didn't, my mother had said, "When you accomplish something worth celebrating, maybe we'll throw you a party too." That evening, Mrs. Patterson had waited with me for over an hour and a half. She'd offered to drive me home herself. And my mother's only response was to accuse me of being attention-seeking. That was the moment I first felt it, that hollow ache in my chest that would become so familiar over the years. The feeling of not mattering, but I kept hoping. God, I kept hoping that maybe if I just tried harder, if I was just good enough, I'd finally be seen. 4 years later, when I was 12, I thought I'd finally found something that would make my mother proud. I'd been taking piano lessons for 6 years, practicing every single day in our living room while Natalie watched TV and complained about the noise. My teacher, Mr. Kowalski, said I had real talent. He entered me into a youth recital at the community centre, my first real performance in front of an audience beyond our annual student showcase. I practiced that piece, Debussy's Clair de Lune, for 6 months. I played it so many times that my fingers could move through the notes in my sleep. The week before the recital, I reminded my parents every single day. Monday. Don't forget, my recital is Saturday at 7. Tuesday. I'm so nervous, but I really want you guys to be there. Wednesday. Mr. Kowalski says I'm ready. Thursday. Please don't forget, Saturday at 7. Friday. Tomorrow night, I can't wait for you to hear it. Saturday came. I put on the navy blue dress my mother had bought me for church. Not a new dress, just one I already had. And we drove to the community centre. My father carried the programme. My mother walked beside Natalie, who looked bored and kept checking her flip phone. But they were there. They were actually there. I went backstage with the other students. We could hear the audience filing in, the rustle of programmes, the murmur of proud parents. Mr. Kowalski gave us all a pep talk about how we'd worked so hard, and tonight was our night to shine. When it was almost time for the performance to start, I peeked through the stage curtain to find my family in the audience. The house lights dimmed. Students began filing onto stage. Mr. Kowalski introduced the programme. And that's when I saw it. 3 empty seats in the 4th row, the seats where my family was supposed to be sitting. Gone. I played my piece in a daze. My fingers hit all the right notes because muscle memory took over when my brain couldn't function. I smiled when I bowed. I walked off stage. And then I went to the lobby and found Mr. Kowalski looking concerned, holding my coat. "Your mother called my cell," he said gently. "There was a family emergency. They had to leave. But she said you played beautifully. She heard the beginning before they had to go." I nodded. I didn't cry. I thanked Mr. Kowalski for teaching me. I called my dad's cell phone from the community centre's office, and he came back to pick me up alone, not meeting my eyes. In the car, I finally asked, "What was the emergency?" My father shifted uncomfortably. "Your sister's boyfriend wanted to take her to dinner. Your mother thought it was important to meet him. He's got a good job. He's a lawyer. 26 years old, very successful. Your mother wanted to make a good impression." "My recital was tonight," I said quietly. "I know, honey. But Natalie's future is important. You understand, right? You'll have other recitals." I never had another recital. I stopped taking piano lessons the next week. When my mother asked why, I told her I didn't like it anymore. She just shrugged and said it was probably for the best, since the lessons were expensive anyway. What I didn't tell her was that I'd seen the text message she'd sent to my father during my performance, the one that popped up on his phone in the car. "Natalie's boyfriend is a lawyer. This is important for her future. Let's go." That night, lying in my bed, I stared at the glow-in-the-dark stars on my ceiling and realised something that would shape the rest of my childhood. I wasn't just second choice. I wasn't a choice at all. I was an obligation they fulfilled when it was convenient and forgot when it wasn't. The pattern continued through high school. Natalie's volleyball games, my parents attended every single one. Even the away games 2 hours out of town. My debate team tournaments, too busy, honey, maybe next time. Natalie's graduation parties, Natalie's college tours, Natalie's internship celebrations. And for me, polite acknowledgement, if I was lucky. But I kept trying. I got straight A's. I volunteered at the animal shelter. I won an essay contest junior year. Every achievement was met with the same response. That's nice, dear. While Natalie's B average and participation trophy from volleyball got a celebratory dinner at the steakhouse. The breaking point came during my college graduation. I'd worked my arse off at the University of Washington, double majoring in marketing and communications, while working 20 hours a week at a coffee shop to help with expenses. I'd made Dean's List every semester. And I graduated summa cum laude, top 3% of my class. My graduation was on a Saturday in June. I'd sent my parents the invitation months in advance. I'd called to remind them. I'd texted them the week before with parking information. The morning of graduation, I'd sent one final text. Can't wait to see you guys today. Ceremony starts at 2. My mother's response came at noon. So sorry, honey, your sister needs help moving to her new apartment today. We promised we'd help. But we're so proud of you. Send pictures. I sat in my apartment, a tiny studio I shared with my roommate Emma, who'd been my best friend since freshman year. And I stared at that text for a full 10 minutes. Emma found me there, still in my pajamas, mascara running down my face. Fuck them, Emma said, pulling me into a hug. Fuck them and their golden child bullshit. You're about to walk across that stage with honours, and I'm going to be there screaming your name so loud they'll hear it in whatever shitty apartment your sister is moving into. Emma was there. She and her parents, who'd invited me to sit with them, who hugged me after I received my diploma, who took me to dinner afterward. I smiled in all the photos. I thanked them profusely. And when I got home that night, I saw that my mother had posted on Facebook a photo of her and my father helping Natalie arrange furniture with the caption, "So proud of my daughter's new beginning. Such an exciting time in her life." Not a single mention of my graduation. Not one. I sat on my bed, still wearing my cap and gown, and I called my mother. She answered on the third ring, sounding distracted. "Elena, what's up?" "I graduated today," I said, my voice shaking. "Summa cum laude, top of my class, and you weren't there." "Oh, honey, I told you we couldn't make it. Your sister needed you more. I know, she always does." I took a shaky breath. Do you know what it feels like to sit in a crowd of thousands of people and realize your own parents can't be bothered to show up? To watch other families celebrating while yours is hanging curtains? Stop being so needy. The world doesn't revolve around you, Elena. Your sister had a need, and we helped. That's what families do. Then what am I asked. If Natalie's family and I'm just optional? There was a long pause. Then, "You're being dramatic. We'll celebrate with you another time." "I have to go. Your sister needs help with her cable hookup." She hung up. And that night, I realized something that would change everything. I wasn't just second choice. I was no choice at all. That was 8 years ago. In the years that followed, the pattern only intensified. Thanksgiving 2018, I wasn't invited because they were keeping it small this year. But my cousin posted photos on Instagram of 20 extended family members around the table. Christmas 2020, I was uninvited at the last minute because Natalie didn't want me stealing attention from her recent promotion. She'd been made junior associate at her law firm, and apparently my presence would somehow diminish her achievement. The worst was my emergency surgery in 2019. I woke up at 3 a.m. with stabbing pain in my abdomen. Emma, who'd remained my closest friend after college, drove me to the ER. The doctor said I needed emergency surgery for appendicitis. Before they wheeled me into the OR, I called my mother. Mum, I'm at Swedish Medical Centre. I'm having emergency surgery. My appendix. I'm scared. Oh, honey, that's terrible timing. Your sister is having a career crisis. She didn't get the promotion she wanted and she's really devastated. I'm with her now. Can this wait? I stared at the phone. Can my emergency surgery wait? Well, I'm sure the doctors have it under control. You're in good hands. I'll call you later to check in, okay? She didn't call. Emma was the one who sat in the waiting room. Emma was the one who was there when I woke up groggy and in pain. Emma was the one who took me home, helped me up the stairs to my apartment, made me soup, and stayed with me for 3 days. My mother texted 4 days later. Hope you're feeling better. Things with Natalie are calming down. She's decided to stay at her current job and work toward that promotion. Crisis averted. I didn't respond. That was the moment I realized something had to change. I couldn't keep letting them hurt me. I couldn't keep hoping for scraps of attention from people who had decided long ago that I wasn't worth their time. But then something unexpected happened. Something that would make me believe, for just a little while, that maybe I could have a family of my own. A family that chose me first. I met David in the fall of 2019 at a tech conference in San Francisco. I'd been sent by my company to represent our marketing department, and I was exhausted from 3 days of networking and panel discussions. On the last evening, I ducked into the hotel bar for a quiet drink before my flight home the next morning. The bar was mostly empty, except for a few stragglers from the conference. I ordered a glass of wine and pulled out my phone, scrolling mindlessly through emails. That's when someone sat down on the stool beside me. Rough conference? He asked. I looked up. He was maybe mid-30s, Asian American, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. He wore a simple button-down shirt and jeans, not the usual tech bro uniform of hoodies and expensive sneakers. Is it that obvious? I asked. You have the look of someone who's been asked, "What's your elevator pitch?" about 1,000 times this week. I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in days. Try 2,000. You? About the same. I'm David. He extended his hand. Elena? We talked for 2 hours. About the conference, yes, but also about everything else. He told me about growing up in Los Angeles, the son of immigrants who'd built a small restaurant from nothing. I told him about Seattle, about my job, about how much I loved marketing because it was about telling stories that connected with people. I didn't tell him about my family. I'd gotten good at leaving that part out. When the bar started closing, David asked if I wanted to walk around the hotel lobby. We ended up sitting in those oversized armchairs by the fireplace, talking until 2 a.m. He told me about his work, something vague about investment and helping companies grow. I told him about my dream of one day running my own marketing agency. You should do it, he said simply. You light up when you talk about it. Maybe someday, I said, when I have more experience, more credibility. Or maybe sooner than you think, he said. People who wait for the perfect moment usually miss the right one. When we finally said goodnight, he asked for my number. I'd like to see you again, he said, if you're open to that. I gave him my number, but I didn't really expect him to call. Men said things like that all the time at conferences, especially after hotel bar conversations that went on too long. But David called the next day and the day after that. And soon we were texting constantly, finding excuses to have video calls, making plans to see each other. He flew to Seattle 2 weeks later. I showed him Pike Place Market, took him to my favourite coffee shop, walked with him along the waterfront. We talked about everything, our childhoods, our careers, our fears, our dreams. Well, almost everything. I still didn't tell him about my family, about the weddings I wasn't invited to, the holidays I spent alone, the phone calls that never came. David was different from anyone I'd ever dated. He remembered the small things I mentioned. That I liked tulips better than roses, that I preferred text messages to phone calls when I was stressed, that I had a scar on my knee from falling off my bike when I was 7. He showed up. When he said he'd be somewhere, he was there. When he promised to call, he called. 3 months into dating, I told Emma about him. She'd been sceptical at first. She'd seen me hurt too many times by family and by men who promised more than they delivered. But when she met David, she pulled me aside and said, "Okay, this one's different. Don't screw it up." I didn't plan to screw it up, but I also didn't plan to fall as hard as I did. David became the person I called when I had good news. The person I wanted to see at the end of a long day. The person who made me feel like I mattered. Not because of what I achieved or how convenient I was, but just because I was me. 8 months after we met, David asked me to take a walk with him at the hotel where we'd first talked. He'd flown up to Seattle for the weekend, and I thought we were just going to have a nice dinner. But instead, he took me to that same fireplace where we'd talked until 2 a.m, and he got down on one knee. "Eleanor," he said, "from the moment I met you, I knew you were someone special. Someone who saw the world with kindness, even when the world hadn't always been kind to you. Someone who lit up rooms without even realizing it. Someone I wanted to spend my life choosing every single day." He pulled out a ring, a simple, elegant diamond on a platinum band. "Will you marry me?" I said yes before he even finished the question. I said yes through tears, through laughter, through the overwhelming feeling of finally being someone's first choice. We decided on a small wedding, just close friends and family. I dreaded telling my parents, but I couldn't not tell them. They were still my parents, despite everything. So 3 days after David proposed, I called my mother. "Mum, I have news. I'm engaged." There was a long silence on the other end. Then, "You're getting married? Before Natalie?" Not congratulations, not "I'm happy for you," just say, "Yes, Mom. I found someone I love. His name is David, and I hope you're happy for me. Natalie has been dating Marcus for 4 years. 4 years, Elena. She should be the one getting married first. This is inappropriate." I felt that familiar ache in my chest. the one I'd felt sitting on the school steps at 8 years old. Inappropriate. I'm getting married to someone I love. You know how your sister is. She's going to be devastated. Can't you wait? Just let her get engaged first. It's the right thing to do. The right thing for who, Mum? For Natalie? What about what's right for me? Don't be selfish, Elena. This is bigger than you. This is about family order. Family order. As if love and commitment operated on some kind of waiting list where the older sibling always went first, regardless of circumstance. I told her the wedding was happening in 6 months, in April. Small ceremony, just immediate family and close friends. She said we'd talk about it later and hung up. 3 days later, she called a family meeting. I drove to their house in Bellevue, the same house I'd grown up in, with the piano I'd stopped playing and the photos of Natalie lining the walls. My father sat in his usual chair, looking uncomfortable. Natalie sat on the couch, arms crossed. My mother stood like she was delivering a presentation. Elena, we need to discuss this engagement. There's nothing to discuss. I'm getting married. You need to postpone, my mother said firmly. Let your sister get engaged first. You're ruining the natural order of things. The natural order? I looked at my father. Dad, you agree with this? He shifted uncomfortably. Maybe it would be better to wait, honey. Your sister has been with Marcus longer. So what? I'm supposed to put my life on hold because Natalie's boyfriend hasn't proposed yet? Natalie spoke for the first time. I didn't ask you to wait. But her voice was cold, and her eyes were colder. But you agree with them, I said. Don't you? She shrugged. I just think it's interesting that you suddenly have something before I do. That never happens. Because you've always gotten everything. The words burst out of me before I could stop them. Everything, every bit of attention, every ounce of support, every celebration. I graduated summa cum laude and you didn't even come. But Natalie gets a B on a test, and it's dinner at the steakhouse. That's not fair, my mother said sharply. We've always treated you both equally. Equally? I laughed, and it came out bitter. You forgot to pick me up from school for 2 hours when I was 8. You missed my piano recital? You didn't come to my college graduation. When I had emergency surgery, you said it was bad timing. But Natalie gets a bad performance review and you drop everything. You're exaggerating, my father said quietly. Am I? Then tell me, when's my birthday? Silence. It's February 14th, I said. Valentine's Day. Natalie's is July 22nd. You've never forgotten hers. You forgot mine 3 times before I stopped expecting you to remember. My mother's face hardened. If you insist on this selfish wedding, don't expect me to celebrate. You're being shameful, putting yourself before family. Shameful. She called my wedding shameful. I stood up. Then don't come. I'm done waiting for you to choose me. I'm done begging for scraps of attention. I found someone who actually loves me, who actually shows up, and I'm marrying him whether you like it or not. I walked out. My father didn't follow. Natalie didn't say goodbye. My mother's last words echoed behind me. If you do this, Eleanor, don't come crying to us when your marriage falls apart. You made your choice. I cried the entire drive home. David met me at my apartment, held me while I sobbed, and said the words I needed to hear. Their approval doesn't define your worth. I'm here. I choose you. We set the date for April 18th. I sent my parents a formal invitation. I called them twice to confirm they'd received it. Both times my mother said they'd see if they could make it. 2 weeks before the wedding, I called one final time. "Mum, the wedding is in 2 weeks. I need to give final numbers to the venue. Are you coming?" Long pause. Then, "I'm not going to celebrate something I don't agree with." "What about Dad? Natalie?" "We're a family, Elena. We stand together." The morning of my wedding, I woke up to a text from my mother. "I won't be attending. What you're doing is shameful. Natalie is devastated." My father sent his own message an hour later. "I'm sorry, but I have to support your mother's decision. I hope you understand." Natalie didn't message at all, but she posted an Instagram story from the airport. She was flying to Hawaii for a last-minute vacation. The caption read, "Living my best life," with a plain emoji. I sat in my bridal suite at the venue, Emma doing my makeup, and I felt that familiar hollow ache. Except this time, it was worse, because this wasn't a school concert or a graduation. This was my wedding day. The day I was supposed to be surrounded by people who loved me, and my family had chosen not to come. "They're not worth your tears," Emma said, touching up my mascara. "Not today. Today is about you and David and the life you're building together." She was right. But when I walked down the aisle and looked out at the rows of white chairs, I couldn't help but see the 3 empty seats in the front row. The seats I'd reserved for my mother, my father, and my sister. Empty. David saw them too. When I reached him at the altar, he took both my hands and whispered, "Their absence doesn't define your worth. I'm here. I choose you. Every day, I choose you." I married David, surrounded by friends, by Emma's family who'd become like parents to me, by co-workers who'd become chosen family. The ceremony was beautiful. The vows were heartfelt. The reception was full of love and laughter, but those 3 empty chairs haunted every photo. After the wedding, there was no phone call, no text, no acknowledgement that I'd gotten married at all. My mother posted on Facebook the next week a throwback photo of Natalie at her law school graduation with the caption, "So grateful for daughters who understand the meaning of respect and family values." The message was clear. I'd crossed a line and there was no coming back. I blocked my mother's number. I couldn't keep seeing her posts celebrating Natalie while ignoring my existence. But I didn't block her on social media. That was my mistake. Because even though I wasn't looking at her posts, she was still posting them. And I knew somewhere in the back of my mind that she was creating this narrative where I was the bad daughter, the selfish one, the one who'd abandoned family values for a wedding she didn't approve of. For 3 years, I didn't speak to my family. 3 years of birthdays without calls, holidays without invitations, milestones without acknowledgement. And honestly, after the first year, it got easier. I stopped waiting for the phone to ring. I stopped checking my email for messages that never came. I built a life with David. A beautiful life full of Sunday morning coffee and spontaneous road trips and dinner parties with friends who actually showed up. I got promoted at work twice. David and I bought a house, talked about starting a family. Emma became even more of a sister to me than Natalie had ever been, and slowly that hollow ache started to fade. I didn't need their approval anymore. I didn't need them, but I'd be lying if I said I was completely free, because every once in a while, late at night when I couldn't sleep, I'd open Facebook, just to see, just to know. I watched from a distance as Natalie got engaged in 2021. My mother posted 47 photos, writing long captions about finally and the right way to do things. And when you wait for the right moment, God blesses you. I knew those posts were directed at me. I knew she was making a point. Natalie did it right. You did it wrong. I saw the posts about Natalie's bridal shower, a lavish party at a country club with designer decorations and champagne towers. I saw the updates about wedding planning, the dress fittings, the venue tours, the cake tastings. My mother documented every detail, proud and present in a way she'd never been for me. Part of me was hurt. Part of me was angry. But mostly I'd reached a place of acceptance. This was who they were. This was what I meant to them, which was nothing. And that was okay. I had David. I had Emma. I had a life I'd built without them. I thought the story ended there. I thought I'd moved on, healed, found peace in my chosen family. Then my phone rang on an October evening in 2023 and everything changed. David and I were making dinner. Pasta with homemade marinara, the kind of easy meal we made on weeknights when we were both tired from work. I was chopping basil and David was stirring the sauce, and we were talking about nothing important, just the comfortable rhythm of two people who knew each other so well that silence wasn't awkward and conversation wasn't forced. My phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, probably a spam call, but something made me pick it up. Hello? Eleanor? It's Mom. Please don't hang up. I froze. David looked over, his expression immediately concerned. I mouthed my mother and watched his eyes widen. It had been 3 years. 3 years of silence. 3 years of building a life without her. And now her voice was shaking, desperate in a way I'd never heard before. What do you want? My voice came out cold, harder than I intended. I need to talk to you. Can we meet? After 3 years? You didn't even text me happy birthday, not once. I know I haven't been the best mother, but I need your help. It's urgent. What kind of help? There was a long pause. I could hear her breathing, unsteady and shallow. Can I come to your place? I don't have anywhere else to go. What do you mean? Where's Dad? Where's Natalie? Her voice broke. They're gone, both of them. I'm alone. My mind raced. Gone, what did that mean? Dead? Moved away? I had so many questions, but the words wouldn't come. Please, Elena, I'm begging you. I have no one else. Every instinct told me to hang up, to protect the peace I'd built, to remember the empty chairs at my wedding, the forgotten recitals, the years of being second choice. But there was something in her voice, genuine desperation, that I'd never heard before. Fine, I heard myself say. You can come tomorrow afternoon, 2:00, but this doesn't mean forgiveness, you understand? Yes, I understand. Thank you. Thank you so much. She hung up. I stood there, phone in hand, staring at nothing. David came over, took the phone gently from my hand, and pulled me into a hug. Whatever you decide, he said softly, I'm with you, always. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed next to David, staring at the ceiling, wondering what I'd just agreed to. My mother, who'd called my wedding shameful, who'd chosen Natalie over me 1,000 times, who'd let me sit alone in a hospital room after emergency surgery, that woman was coming to my home, asking for help. What had happened to Dad, to Natalie? Why was she alone? And why, after 3 years of silence, did she think I'd be the one to save her? The next day felt like it lasted forever. I went to work but couldn't focus. I sat in meetings and nodded at appropriate times. But my mind was somewhere else entirely. Emma texted me around noon. "How are you holding up?" I'd told her about the phone call. She'd been furious on my behalf, reminding me of every time my mother had let me down. But she'd also said, "It's your decision. Just promise me you'll protect yourself first." At 1:30, I left work early. David had taken the afternoon off too, just in case, he'd said. We were both home by 1:45, sitting in our living room, waiting. At exactly 2:00, the doorbell rang. I opened the door and I barely recognized the woman standing there. My mother looked older than I remembered. Her hair, which she'd always kept carefully dyed a rich brown, was now grey at the roots. She wasn't wearing makeup. Her clothes, a plain t-shirt and jeans, were wrinkled like she'd slept in them. She had 2 suitcases beside her, the kind you take on long trips, and her eyes, when they met mine, were red and swollen. "Hi," she said quietly. I didn't move aside to let her in. Not yet. "Before you come in, tell me what happened. Why are you here?" She took a shaky breath. Can we sit down? This is going to take a while." I looked at David. He nodded slightly. I stepped aside. My mother walked into our home for the first time, dragging her suitcases behind her. She looked around at the hardwood floors, the modern furniture, the art on the walls, the view of the city from our floor-to-ceiling windows. This wasn't just a nice apartment, this was a penthouse, but she didn't comment on it. She just sat on the edge of our couch, hands clasped in her lap, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. David and I sat across from her. I waited. "Natalie's wedding," my mother finally said. "It was in June. She and Marcus got married at that resort in Napa Valley, the one she'd been planning for over a year." I knew about the wedding, of course. I'd seen the posts. Lavish didn't even begin to describe it. 200 guests, live orchestra, custom wedding dress that probably cost more than a car. "It cost $150,000, my mother continued. "Your father and I paid for most of it. $80,000 from our retirement savings. Marcus promised he'd pay us back after the wedding. He said he had a big promotion coming." I stayed silent, letting her talk. 2 months after the wedding, Natalie called to tell us she was getting divorced. Marcus had been cheating on her with a colleague. She found out during their honeymoon. They were married for less than 3 months before she filed the papers. Despite everything, I felt a pang of sympathy. Divorce was devastating, no matter the circumstances. "Natalie blamed us," my mother said, her voice breaking. "She said we'd pushed her to marry him, that we'd pressured her into the whole thing because we wanted the perfect wedding, the perfect son-in-law. She said we'd ruined her life." "Did you pressure her?" I asked quietly. My mother looked away. "I thought Marcus was good for her. Stable career, good family. I thought it was the right choice." "But did she want to marry him?" Silence. I had my answer. "After the divorce, everything fell apart," my mother continued. "The stress. Your father, his health had never been great. The high blood pressure, the cholesterol. But after Natalie's wedding, after spending that money, after the divorce, he had a heart attack in August." My breath caught. "Is he?" "He didn't make it. He died in the hospital 2 days later. the medical bills. Over $200,000 that insurance didn't cover. We'd already spent our savings on the wedding. I had to take out a loan against the house just to pay for the funeral. I felt David's hand slip into mine, squeezing gently. "And Natalie?" I managed to ask. "She didn't come to the funeral. She said she couldn't deal with it, that she needed—" I looked at my mother, really looked at her, and saw someone I'd spent my entire life trying to please. Someone who'd held all the power in my childhood, who could make or break my day with a single word or the absence of one. And now she sat in my living room, powerless, asking me for mercy. "I need time to think," I said finally. "You can stay tonight, guest room down the hall, but tomorrow we talk about what happens next." My mother's face crumpled with relief. "Thank you. Thank you so much. I promise I won't be any trouble." David showed her to the guest room while I stood in the living room, my mind racing. What had I just done? Invited the woman who'd traumatized me for decades into my home, the woman who'd missed my wedding, my graduation, my emergency surgery, but I couldn't turn her away. Not because I forgave her, not because I trusted her, but because I wasn't her. I wasn't the person who could look at someone in genuine need and close the door in their face. That night, David and I lay in bed, neither of us sleeping. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. "I don't know what I am," I admitted. Part of me wants to feel good about helping her, like I'm being the bigger person, but mostly I just feel empty. "You don't have to feel anything right now. There's no right way to process this." "She destroyed my childhood," I whispered. "She made me feel invisible for 30 years. And now she needs me, and I can't bring myself to do to her what she did to me. What's wrong with me?" David turned to face me, his hand cupping my cheek. "Nothing is wrong with you. You have compassion. That's not a weakness, Elena. It's strength." "Then why does it feel like I'm betraying myself?" He didn't have an answer for that. Neither did I. The next morning, I woke up to find my mother sitting at our kitchen table, looking lost. She'd found the coffee. David had shown her where everything was, but she just sat there, staring into the cup like it held answers. "Morning," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "Morning," she looked up. "Elena, I want you to know—" "Not yet," I interrupted. "Coffee first. Then we talk." We sat in uncomfortable silence while I made toast. David had already left for an early meeting, but he'd texted me, "Call if you need me. I can come home any time." Finally, I sat down across from my mother. "Here's what's going to happen. You can stay here for 60 days. That gives you time to figure out your next steps. But there are conditions." She nodded eagerly. "Anything. First, you respect our boundaries. This is our home, our space. Second, you actively work on finding permanent housing. I'll help you connect with resources, but I'm not a permanent solution. And third," I took a breath, "we don't pretend like the past didn't happen. If you want to stay here, you acknowledge what you did, all of it." My mother's face went pale. Yes, I understand. Do you? Because I need to hear you say it. I need to hear you acknowledge that you chose Natalie over me for my entire life. That you missed my wedding, that you called it shameful, that you... I was wrong. Her voice cracked. I was wrong about everything. I see that now. Do you? Or do you just see that Natalie left you and I'm your last option? She flinched like I'd slapped her. I deserve that. Yeah, you do. We sat in silence for a long moment. Then my mother said, Can I Can I ask you about your wedding? I want to know about it. I stared at her. Now you want to know? 3 years later? I know I don't have the right to ask, but I missed it. I missed everything, and I want to know who you are now, the daughter I failed to see. Something about the way she said it, small, broken, genuinely asking, made something crack inside me. Not forgiveness, not yet, maybe not ever, but something. It was beautiful, I said quietly, small, just close friends and Emma's family. David and I wrote our own vows. The ceremony was at sunset. Emma was my maid of honour. I wore a simple dress, ivory, tea-length with lace sleeves. David cried when he saw me walking down the aisle. It sounds perfect, my mother whispered. It was, except for the 3 empty chairs in the front row, the ones I saved for you, Dad and Natalie. Everyone could see them. Empty. And everyone knew why. My mother's hands shook around her coffee cup. Eleanor, I'm not telling you this to hurt you. I'm telling you because if you stay here, you need to understand what you did. You need to see the moments you missed. All of them. Over the next hour, I told her. About Emma being there when I woke up from surgery. About making Christmas dinner for 2 because I had no family to spend it with. About the promotions at work that I celebrated with co-workers because my family never asked about my career. About the life I'd built brick by brick with no help, no support, no acknowledgement from the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. My mother cried through most of it. Not performative tears, but the kind that came from genuine shame. And when I finished, she said something I'd waited my whole life to hear. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know if I can. But I want to try, if you'll let me. I don't know if you can fix it either, I said honestly, but you can start by respecting the boundaries I set. Can you do that? Yes, I promise. For the next few days, we existed in an awkward détente. My mother stayed in the guest room, made herself scarce during the day, tried to be helpful in small ways, doing dishes, folding laundry that wasn't hers to fold. I came home from work and found her tidying our already tidy kitchen, clearly trying to earn her keep. David was patient, kind even, but I could tell he was watching carefully. Protecting me in that quiet way he had. He'd ask me every night, "How are you doing with all this?" And I'd say, "I don't know," because it was the only honest answer I had. Then, on day 5, everything exploded. I came home from work around 6, tired from a long day of presentations. David was working late. I walked into our apartment and found my mother sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone, crying softly. "What's wrong?" I asked, setting down my bag. She looked up, her face blotchy. "Natalie posted something on Instagram about me." She showed me her phone. Natalie had posted a long caption over a sunset photo. "Learning to protect my peace means setting boundaries with toxic people, even family. To anyone struggling with narcissistic parents, you're not alone. You deserve to choose yourself." Healing journey, no contact, choosing me. I stared at the post. Over 2,000 likes, hundreds of comments praising her bravery, calling her strong, sharing their own stories of cutting off toxic family. "She's making me the villain," my mother said. After everything I did for her, after the wedding, the money, the years of putting her first. And now I'm toxic? I handed back her phone, unsure what to say. Because the thing was, my mother had been toxic. She'd played favourites, manipulated dynamics, enabled golden child scapegoat roles. But hearing it from Natalie, the golden child who'd benefited from every bit of that toxicity, felt different. Maybe she has a point, I said, carefully. About the boundaries, about choosing herself. My mother looked at me sharply. You agree with her? I agree that she has the right to set boundaries, just like I did when I went no contact with you for 3 years. But you let me come here. You're helping me. That's my choice, not an obligation, and it doesn't erase what happened. We were interrupted by the doorbell. I frowned. We weren't expecting anyone. I walked to the door and opened it. Natalie stood there. She looked different from the last time I'd seen her at that awful family meeting 3 years ago. Thinner. Her hair was shorter, cut into a sharp bob. She wore designer workout clothes and carried a large Louis Vuitton bag. And her expression was pure fury. So this is where she's hiding, Natalie said, pushing past me into the apartment. Excuse me, I said, following her. You can't just... Mom. Natalie's voice was ice as she spotted our mother on the couch. I knew you'd pull something like this. I knew you'd try to manipulate Elena. My mother stood up. Natalie? I didn't manipulate anyone. I asked for help, and Elena was kind enough... Kind enough? Natalie laughed harshly. She's probably loving this. Finally getting to play the hero while I look like the bad guy. I'm not playing anything, I said, my voice hardening. I didn't ask her to come here. She had nowhere else to go. You refused to help her. Because she's toxic, Natalie whirled on me. You of all people should understand that. She treated you like garbage your whole life. And now, you're what? Rescuing her. I'm giving her a temporary place to stay. That's it. How much is she paying you? Because that's what this is really about, right? Money? I stared at my sister. What are you talking about? Come on, Elena, you were always jealous that I had the better job, the better life. Now you see an opportunity to make Mum financially dependent on you so you can finally be the favourite. Something inside me snapped. Get out. What? Get out of my home. Natalie's eyes widened. You can't be serious. You show up unannounced, insult me, accuse me of manipulating Mom for money, and you think you can just stay? No, leave, now. Mum, are you going to let her talk to me like this? My mother, to my surprise, said quietly, Natalie, maybe you should go. Are you choosing her? Natalie's voice went shrill. After everything She stopped herself. After everything you what? I asked. After everything you took, the attention, the money, the celebrations, after everything you had that I never got? I didn't ask for that. I didn't ask to be the golden child. Maybe not, but you sure enjoyed it. You enjoyed watching me get left behind. You enjoyed being Mom's favourite. And now that she's not useful to you anymore, you cut her off and play victim on Instagram. I am a victim, Natalie said, her voice breaking. You don't know what it was like. The pressure, the expectations, having to be perfect all the time. You're right, I said. I don't know what that's like, because I was never given the chance to be anything to them. Not perfect, not imperfect, just nothing. Natalie pulled out her phone. You know what? Fine. Let's see how you like being exposed. She held up her phone, clearly recording. Let's show everyone what kind of person Elena really is. Kicking our mother out in her time of need. I haven't kicked anyone out. You're the one who refused to help. Because she's toxic and you're just as bad, using her for whatever this is. My mother finally found her voice. Natalie, stop. This isn't Elena's fault. I came here because you told me no. She didn't ask me to come. You're choosing her. Natalie looked between us, her face contorting. After everything I did for you, I married Marcus because you wanted me to. I spent my life trying to be perfect for you. And now you're here with her. The room went silent. Even Natalie seemed shocked by what she'd just admitted. You married Marcus because Mum wanted you to? I asked slowly. Natalie's face crumpled. She didn't have to say it. It was always clear. Be perfect or be nothing. Get the perfect husband, have the perfect wedding, live the perfect life. And I tried so hard, and it destroyed me. For a moment, just a moment, I saw my sister not as the golden child who'd had everything, but as another victim of our mother's dysfunction. Different role, same pain, but then she turned that pain into a weapon. And now, Natalie said, her voice venomous, you get to be the hero. Poor Eleanor, always overlooked, finally getting her moment. How does it feel? Does it make up for everything? Nothing makes up for everything, I said quietly. But I'm not doing this for that reason. I'm doing it because someone needed help and I could provide it, that's it. How noble. Natalie's voice dripped sarcasm. She turned to my mother. You know what? Fine, stay here. See how long it lasts before she throws you out too. Because Elena's not as perfect as she's pretending to be. She's just better at hiding it. Natalie, my mother started. Just don't. I'm done. With both of you. She stormed toward the door, then paused. And Elena, enjoy your moment. But remember, you're not better than me. You're just luckier. You found some guy who actually wants you, and now you get to play saviour. But we both know the truth. You're still the forgotten daughter. And no amount of charity is going to change that. She slammed the door behind her. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother sank back onto the couch, her face in her hands. I stood there, Natalie's words echoing in my head. Some guy who actually wants you. That's when I heard the elevator ding in the hallway, keys in the lock. David was home early. He walked in, took one look at my face, and immediately came to my side. What happened? Natalie was here, I said, my voice shaky. And she said some things about me, about us. David's expression darkened. What kind of things? Before I could answer, my mother spoke up. She called you some guy. She implied that Eleanor is only helping me to feel superior. She was cruel. David looked at me. Eleanor, are you okay? I nodded, but I wasn't, because Natalie's words had hit a nerve I didn't want to admit existed. Was I doing this to be the hero? To prove I was better than my family? To finally be the good daughter? She recorded it, my mother added quietly, on her phone. She said she was going to show everyone what kind of person Elena really is. Let her post it, David said firmly. Anyone who watches that video will see exactly what kind of person your daughter is, both of them. He was right, but it didn't make me feel better. That night, lying in bed, David asked the question I'd been avoiding. Do you want her to leave, your mother? I don't know, I admitted. Having her here is hard, but turning her away would be harder. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. He pulled me closer. You're not like them, Elena. That's not a weakness. It's your strength. Natalie said I'm just luckier. that I found some guy who wants me. David was quiet for a moment. Then, there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have mentioned before, but it never seemed relevant until now. I turned to look at him. What? Remember when your mother mentioned Marcus, Natalie's ex? Yeah? I know him, professionally. His startup pitched to my firm about 18 months ago, before their wedding. I sat up. Your firm? Crest Capital. We're a venture capital fund. We manage about 3.2 billion in assets. I'm one of the partners. I stared at him. Wait, you're David Chen from Crest Capital? You knew my last name was Chen. Yes, but you never said. I was processing. You're a venture capital partner, managing billions? Yes, I told you I worked in investment. You never asked for details. I thought you meant like financial planning or something, not managing $1 billion fund. 3.2 billion, he corrected gently. And I didn't hide it, I just didn't advertise it. When we met, you didn't care what I did for work. You cared about who I was. That was refreshing. My mind was racing. Marcus pitched to your firm? Yes, we rejected his proposal. Due diligence showed he was financially reckless, had a pattern of borrowing beyond his means, and his business model was fundamentally flawed. I recognized his name when your mother mentioned him, but it wasn't my story to tell. So all this time you knew he was bad news, I suspected. But Natalie married him anyway. I lay back down, my head spinning. My husband wasn't just successful, he was wealthy, like seriously wealthy, and I'd had no idea. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. Would it have changed anything? I thought about it. No. Exactly, you fell in love with me, not my portfolio. That mattered to me. Does my mother know? I don't think so, but Natalie might. If she follows tech news or venture capital, my name comes up sometimes. That's why she called you some guy. She knew you're successful, and she couldn't stand that I ended up with someone like you. Someone like me? Someone who chose me. Someone who was there. Someone who... I trailed off. Someone who loves you exactly as you are, David finished. Not as a second choice, not as a backup plan, but as my first, last, and only choice, every single day. I kissed him then, grateful beyond words that in a life full of people who'd overlooked me, I'd found someone who never did. The next morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing. Multiple texts from Emma. Did you see what Natalie posted? Call me when you wake up. Actually, never mind. This is hilarious. I opened Instagram with dread. Natalie had posted the video from last night, but instead of making me look bad, it made her look unhinged. You could see her barging into my home uninvited, accusing me of manipulation, throwing around wild accusations about money. And you could hear my calm voice asking her to leave. The comments weren't sympathetic to her, they were calling her out. This doesn't make your sister look bad, it makes you look entitled. She opened her home to your mother and you attacked her? Yikes. The sister is literally just helping someone in need and you're mad about it? This ain't the flex you think it is, bestie. My mother was already awake when I came out of the bedroom. She was looking at her phone, tears streaming down her face. What's wrong? I asked. She showed me. Natalie had blocked her on every platform. Complete radio silence. I lost her, my mother whispered. I lost both of you for 3 years, and now I've lost her completely. You didn't lose me, I said carefully. I chose to step back. There's a difference. Is there? Because either way, I'm alone. You're not alone. You're here. And for the next 60 days, you're safe. That's more than you had a week ago. My mother nodded, wiping her eyes. Elena, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Okay. Why are you helping me? Really, is it to be better than Natalie, to prove something? I sat down across from her. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe part of it is proving something, to myself, not to her. That I'm not like you, that I can be kind even when someone doesn't deserve it. But mostly, I'm helping you because someone needed help, and I had the means to provide it. That's it. No ulterior motive, no grand plan. Just basic human decency. That's more than I ever showed you. I know. We sat in silence for a moment. Then my mother said, Tell me about David, your husband. I want to know about him. So I did. I told her about meeting him at the conference, about how he called when he said he would, about how he showed up to every important moment. I told her about the proposal, about the wedding she'd missed, about the life we'd built together. He sounds wonderful, she said quietly. He is. He's the first person who ever chose me first. And he keeps choosing me every single day. I should have chosen you, my mother said, every single day, and I didn't. I can't fix that, but I want you to know. I see it now. I see what I did. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know, I said, and I meant it. I could see her remorse, feel it, but remorse didn't erase the past. Over the next few weeks, we settled into an uneasy routine. My mother spent her days applying for jobs, looking at affordable housing options, meeting with a financial advisor that David had connected her with. She was trying, really trying. David's advisor helped her understand the reality of her situation. Bankruptcy was probably inevitable given the debt and foreclosure, but she could start rebuilding. He connected her with a program for low-income seniors, helped her apply for assistance, showed her how to create a budget. She'd look at me sometimes with this expression, grateful, ashamed, sad, and I didn't know what to do with it. I couldn't forgive her, not yet, maybe not ever. But I could coexist with her. I could help her get back on her feet without giving her absolution. One evening, about 6 weeks into her stay, my mother and I were having dinner while David worked late. She'd made pasta using ingredients from our kitchen, but she'd asked first, which was progress. I saw the wedding photos, she said quietly. The ones on your mantel. You looked beautiful. Thank you. The empty chairs in the front row, those were for us, weren't they? Yes. Did people ask about them? Some did. I told them my family couldn't make it. Most people figured out the truth anyway. My mother set down her fork. I thought I was doing the right thing, standing with Natalie, supporting her. I thought you were being selfish, putting yourself first. I was putting myself first for the first time in my life. And I punished you for it. Yes? I don't know how to make this right, Elena. I don't know if I can. You can't make it right. What happened, happened, but you can choose differently going forward. How? By respecting boundaries, by understanding that relationships are earned, not owed, by accepting that I might never trust you the way a daughter should trust her mother, and being okay with that. That's a hard thing to be okay with. I know, but it's the truth. The next week, my mother's housing came through. A subsidised apartment for seniors, small but clean, affordable on the limited income she'd cobbled together from Social Security and a part-time job she'd found at a library. The day she moved out, I helped her pack. It didn't take long. She didn't have much. 2 suitcases and the few things she'd accumulated during her stay. At the door, she paused. "Elena, I want to ask you something, and you can say no." "What is it?" "Can I call you sometimes? Not often, maybe once a month, just to talk, not as family necessarily, but as 2 people who want to know each other." I thought about it carefully. Maybe, eventually, but I need space first. Real space. And if I agree, it has to be on my terms. "I understand. And Elena?" "Yeah? I'm proud of you. I should have said that 32 years ago, every day. You turned out to be an incredible person despite me, not because of me. And I'm sorry I wasn't the mother you deserved. I didn't have words for that, so I just nodded. She left, and I stood in my apartment, my home, the one I'd built with David, the life I'd created, and I felt something unexpected. Peace, not forgiveness, not reconciliation, but peace. That night, David came home to find me sitting on the couch, staring at nothing in particular. "You okay?" he asked, sitting beside me. "She's gone." "How do you feel?" "Relieved, sad, angry, grateful. Everything all at once." He pulled me close. "That's allowed. You're allowed to feel all of it." "Do you think I did the right thing, helping her?" "I think you did what felt right for you. That's all any of us can do." "Natalie was right about one thing," I said quietly. "I am lucky, not because you're wealthy or successful or any of that, but because you chose me, and you kept choosing me, even when it would have been easier not to. Loving you has never been hard, Elena. It's been the easiest thing I've ever done." 6 months later, I was sitting at my desk at work when my phone rang, unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Elena, it's Mom." I took a breath. "Hi." "I know it's only been 6 months, and I promised to give you space. But I wanted you to know I got a permanent job, full-time at the library, benefits and everything, and I've been going to therapy, trying to understand why I did what I did to you, to Natalie, to all of us." "That's good, Mum, I'm glad. I don't expect you to forgive me or to be close. But I wanted you to know I'm trying, I'm really trying." "I believe you," I said, and I did. "Can I ask how you're doing? How's David?" "We're good, really good. We're actually talking about starting a family on our terms, our timeline." "That's wonderful, Elena. You'll be an amazing mother." The irony of her saying that wasn't lost on me, but I took it for what it was, an acknowledgement, however small, that she hadn't been. "Thanks, Mom." "And Natalie?" "I haven't heard from her. Her Instagram is private now. I don't know where she is or how she's doing." "I worry about her," my mother admitted. "So do I. But she made her choice, just like I made mine. You made a better one. I made a different one, that's all. We talked for a few more minutes, small talk mostly, safe topics. And when we hung up, I didn't feel angry or anxious or sad. I just felt neutral, like talking to a distant relative you're polite with but not close to. That evening, David found me looking at our wedding photos. Not the ones from the ceremony, the ones from the reception. Emma and me laughing, David's parents welcoming me with open arms, friends dancing, celebrating, filling the space with love. "Thinking about the empty chairs?" David asked. "No," I said, and I meant it. Thinking about who was there, who showed up, who chose to celebrate with us. And And I'm grateful for them, for you, for the family we chose and the one we're building. David wrapped his arms around me from behind. Do you ever wish things were different with your mum? Sometimes, but mostly I wish I'd understood sooner that not being chosen by them didn't mean I was unchosen. It just meant they couldn't see what was right in front of them. Their loss. Completely. That night, I thought about everything that had happened. The years of being overlooked. The wedding my mother missed. The desperate phone call that brought her back into my life. The 60 days of awkward coexistence. The goodbye that felt more like closure than loss. And I realized something important. Forgiveness wasn't about absolving someone of what they'd done. It wasn't about forgetting or pretending the hurt never happened. Forgiveness was about releasing the hold that hurt had on you. It was about choosing peace over anger, not for them, but for yourself. I hadn't forgiven my mother, not fully. Maybe I never would, but I'd let go of the need for her approval. I'd let go of the hope that she'd suddenly become the mother I needed. I'd let go of the little girl who waited on school steps, wondering why she wasn't worth picking up. That girl was gone. In her place was a woman who knew her worth. A woman who'd built a life, a career, a family of her own choosing. A woman who could be kind without being weak, who could help without being a martyr, who could set boundaries without guilt. If you're watching this, if you've made it to the end of my story, I want to tell you something. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, like you were the afterthought, the second choice, the one they forgot, I need you to understand something. Your worth isn't determined by who shows up. It's determined by who you become, despite who didn't. For 30 years, I waited for my family to choose me, to see me, to celebrate me, and they didn't. But here's what I learned. I didn't need them to. I needed me to choose me. And when I finally did, everything changed. I'm not going to lie and say it doesn't hurt. It does. Probably always will, in some small way. But the hurt doesn't define me anymore. It's just part of my story, not the whole story, just a chapter. The woman I am now, the wife, the friend, the professional, the future mother. She wasn't built by the people who loved me. She was built in spite of the people who didn't. And that's something to be proud of. So if you're the forgotten daughter, the overlooked son, the family scapegoat who's always been too much or never enough, hear me when I say this. You don't need anyone's permission to choose yourself. You don't need anyone's approval to build the life you deserve. You just need the courage to do it. My mother called my wedding shameful 3 years ago. Today I call it the beginning. The beginning of a life where I stopped waiting for people to choose me and started choosing myself. And if you take nothing else from my story, take this. The empty chairs don't define you. Who fills the room does. And if the people who should have been there weren't, that says everything about them and nothing about you. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, you're not alone. Drop a comment if this resonated with you. I'm reading everyone. And if you're still waiting for that phone call, that apology, that moment when your family finally sees you, stop waiting. Choose yourself instead. I promise it's worth it. For everyone who's ever been called too sensitive for having feelings. For everyone who's ever sat in an empty waiting room alone. For everyone who's ever wondered why they weren't enough. You were always enough. They just couldn't see it.